hate going to Soldier Field so fucking much. I don't want to do it. I will literally, the only band I would do it for is MCR. Like, that's it. Welcome to Noise Floor, a podcast about music through the lens of our favorite artists' discographies. I'm Matt Kistler.
And I'm Troy Sennett.
And we are back to our regularly scheduled mini-series here. We are going to be talking about New Jersey everything a little bit band, My Chemical Romance. We're going to be talking today specifically about their debut album, I Brought You My Bullets, You Brought Me Your Love, which came out in 2002, summer of 2002 on Eyeball Records, a label we've already talked about pretty extensively, but also put out some stellar albums, so why wouldn't we? Troy, can you tell me a little bit about how you first came across MCR?
So I have this very distinct memory that the older I get, the more I think it might be a false memory. But I remember, or at least again, I believe that I remember watching MTV, like camping out in front of the TV for the premiere of some other video, and I wish I knew what it was. In my head, it's a Backstreet Boys video, but the timeline does not line up because I was not listening to the Backstreet Boys by the time this happened. But regardless, it's some video of some band that I clearly don't remember. And what I was waiting for that to see their music video, and what I saw instead was the video for I'm Not Okay. And it just was like, I've never seen a music video like this. I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know a band could sound like this. It was like a revelatory moment for me here. And if it was I'm Not Okay, this is like before I hear Fall Out Boy. This is before I hear like Thursday. This is before I hear like any band that sounds like My Chemical Romance at all, any of their influences or, bands that they influenced. So I'm mostly like into Switchfoot or whatever at this point. Like I like Jimmy Eat World, I guess, but like this is this is like new territory for me sonically. And I remember getting into some of the songs off of Three Cheers, and I didn't have any of the CDs for a while, but I got pretty into Three Cheers and would go backwards a little bit. I found Bullets kind of a scary album. It was just way harder and heavier and faster than anything I listened to, but I really, really latched on to Early Sunsets Over Monroeville.
Oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's the emo one, and that was what appealed to me then and still does now. Again, this may be an entirely false like version of how I first encountered My Chemical Romance. It is entirely possible that I just heard them on like a compilation CD later on or something. But in my head, which I guess is like the idea of some like mythic origin story of my fandom fits with like sort of the way that the band presents themselves too. So I'm just gonna roll with it. But what about you? Fair. What's your origin story with them?
So back in high school, I was friends with a couple of folks who were in a band called the Vamps. And among the dudes in the Vamps were Spike and Fassel, two people who I looked up to very much musically, and just in terms of like the music that they listened to was the music that I wanted to listen to, generally speaking. And I don't remember the exact timeline of things, but I do remember that I think Fassel had a MCR Messenger bag, and I'm not sure if I noticed that before or after. I was at I believe it was a birthday party for somebody over at one of their houses, and Three Cheers was on the little boombox on the patio out back, and I was like, it was obviously in the background, so like I didn't like catch the full like everything of it all, but I just remember like going, oh, I need to pick this up as soon as possible. And like, sure enough, like this was like not very long after it had released, because that album released in early summer of 2024 or 2004, a year I've not thought about in a very long time, except for on this podcast. So like this was a little bit after that. So I remember like very excitedly like saying, "Hey Dad, can we stop by the Best Buy later today?" Not very long later, and I like ran in, grabbed this, ran out, and they've been one of my favorite bands ever since. But in terms of Bullets, I was obviously hungry for more, and I picked this up, and I was really struck by the like kind of heaviness and rawness of it all. I really gravitated towards songs like Honey, This Mirror Isn't Big Enough for the Two of Us, and specifically Our Lady of Sorrows. Like, that was my jam. I remember being so excited when they played it at the Warped Tour that I saw them at, I think the next year. I think 2005 was the first time, and also the last time until post breakup that I saw them. But yeah, I really liked this album, like kind of right out of the gate. Obviously the production is not nearly as polished as it was on Three Cheers, but they didn't have major label money behind them. They had I think 2 weeks of recording budget. And we'll talk a little bit more about the production of this album as a whole. And actually this might be a good transition into that, and kind of the origins of the band in general. So the kind of short background story on MCR, and most people who care about the band probably know this, is that Gerard was working, kind of as I believe an intern at Cartoon Network at the time. He'd kind of been shuffling around various gigs, like trying to pursue his passion of doing visual art. He had studied art in college, had been drawing comics since he was a kid. There's a oft repeated story about how, they lived in a basement. He had this like kind of sliver of light to draw by, and he was just kind of chilling in his basement drawing comics. And that was like kind of a running joke between his brother and their friends about him like never coming out for anything. But he was working in an office in New York around September of 2001. And on his way into work one day, saw a billow of smoke and looked up to see that the Twin Towers had been struck, and kind of had a moment where he realized, like, I need to start doing the things that I am passionate about, and not like hoping that corporate America will allow me to do the things that I want to do. And that kind of was the propagating point of forming the band, a thing that he had wanted to do for a while, along with his brother Mikey. And then they kind of gathered up a couple more people, notably Ray Toro, a kind of well-known, well-loved metal guitarist around town. And then they also, I believe from the same band that Ray was in, picked up Matt Pellissier. I might be pronouncing his last name wrong, but I'm assuming it's French. Who was, I believe, the kind of story behind him was he wasn't that good, but he had a place where they could practice, and he played drums, so it was good enough at the time. But that kind of rolled into them writing the first few MCR songs. Notably, there's a story about Mikey and Gerard going to a party that Jeff Rickley was also at, and Mikey was like, "Hey, I've got this new band with my brother. We've got this song." He whips out a very poorly tuned guitar, tries to play, I believe it was Vampires Will Never Hurt You, says to, or everything kind of like goes to hell pretty quick on that one. He's like, "Okay, let me grab Gerard. He can play it better than me." And then Gerard attempts to also play the song, and it's just kind of a little fumbly. And Jeff's like, I don't know about this, man. But from there, Troy, I don't know if you know if like one of these stories is it like the actual history, or if it's like some blend of the two. But I read in a 2015 interview with Jeff and Gerard that what made Jeff want to work with the band after like kind of being originally asked to produce the album was that he went to a band practice and heard the songs and thought they were great. But in Sellout, what I'm kind of considering the official canon generally, is that he was given the demos that they recorded, the Attic demos, which we'll talk about a little bit, like as Thursday was about to head out on the road, and he said to himself, "Ah, fuck! Now I got to listen to these songs through the CD and the CD player," and then like they just kind of kept listening to those songs and like realized that there was something there. Do you know if like one of those is true, both of those is true?
I mean, they tell both Jeff and Mikey Way tell the he gave them the demo right as they were leaving for tour story. So I mean, both things probably happened.
Yeah.
But I think like to take a step back to like kind of the beginning of the idea for the band that Gerard Way has, I was thinking about that in contrast to Rise Against, a band that has kind of like gone out of their way to demystify themselves and decenter themselves from like the narrative of the band and to put their ideals and their politics at the forefront. Like we talked about an entire documentary where Rise Against says, let's make this about our fans and about our ideals and not about us. And it's funny to compare that sort of way of being a band to My Chemical Romance, who has this like from the very beginning builds up this like mythological status around themselves as like Gerard Way as a frontman in particular, but with this superhero origin story of witnessing 9/11 and it galvanizing him into wanting to create art that matters more to him and isn't gonna like line the pockets of of corporate America. It's this very like, I don't know, this very like millennial myth making, I think, that Gerard is like a tad older than a lot of the other bands that came out of this scene, because he was already like working at office jobs and stuff like that. And I think there's a little bit of that that you needed to be just a little bit older to have some perspective that a lot of the sort of scene peers didn't have, or so they were processing this stuff in a different way. But I think that the kind of like I said, that myth making about yourself and about your story is central to what My Chemical Romance becomes, this band that dresses up in costumes and creates these huge narratives around their albums. But it's also something that Jeff Rickley, as a producer of I Brought You My Bullets, taps into, because he was like, I told Gerard to embrace this like comic bookness that he of his like passion and work that into the band. And it totally pays off. And you can hear it on a lot of the songs on this album. And then as we get further in the discography, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, it is funny to contrast them with Rise Against like that. Because yeah, the mythos of the band and of Gerard in particular is so central to, I mean, just the whole thing. And then yeah, the kind of encouragement from Jeff to really embrace the like the persona of it all, the like the superhero origin story, as it were, of it all, like really just sparks a flame that can't be stopped after this, honestly. But yeah, I do love that it is just this kind of like, you know, it's these like kind of geeky well, I guess Gerard's the more introverted one in this case. I guess Mikey was like very, very like out there chatting folks up originally. It was kind of mentioned that Mikey early on was very, very much like on the tip of, oh yeah, no, like we're gonna be huge. My face is gonna be on a lunchbox someday.
Yeah.
Which again, like contrasting with a band like Rise Against is like a very different thing. But they also like still really maintain this kind of punk rock core ethos, you know, throughout their early career at very least, and I would say maybe arguably throughout their entire career. Both in like the, you know, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but you know, after this album comes out, they, you know, kind of get into this frenzy of offers from labels, and they're kind of like, oh, we need to take a step back from this. Like we want to play more shows before, you know, advancing to something like that.
Well, I mean, that's been a thing from the very beginning for them. Like they had only played a few shows before they start recording this album.
Yeah.
They weren't like road dogs like Thursday where to kind of figure out how to be a great band. They had to find it in a much smaller space in a shorter amount of time. They talk about even like they're writing stuff that they can't play because they only have one guitarist at the time before Frankie Iero joins. Yeah, I mean, they just have such a different path to being a huge band as, Rise Against or Thursday, just examples that we've talked about did. Even Paramore, I mean, they toured a lot before they really hit, and My Chemical Romance is like basically totally green when they're in the studio. And I mean, we should talk about Not a Recording, where they made this record and I think produced by Jeff Rickley, but recorded and mixed by John DeClario. Rickley himself has said, I had no business like producing a record at this point. I didn't know what that meant. I just wanted to have my name on this because they seemed like they were cool guys and it was going to be a hit, which is kind of funny. But John DeClario is like looms pretty large in my mind as he produced and recorded so many bands that I love, and that Jersey scene, the Drive Thru Records scene, like everyone kind of went to him. I mean, certainly in part because of his connection to this album, I'm sure. But like, you watched the video. Did you watch the little documentary about making this record?
Yeah. It was very entertaining.
Yeah, it's fun, but it's like they're recording in his mom's basement. Like, this album doesn't sound like it was made in like a tiny home studio, but it was. And they're like, they don't have the sort of personas that they would put on as they got bigger. They're really like in the studio, quote unquote studio, for the first time. And some of the stories around making this record are so ridiculous. Like Gerard having to have a root canal, and then Alex Saavedra, head of Eyeball Records, stealing his pain meds so that he would be in more pain so he could sing better.
Yeah.
Which is so like that feels like a story from like a Van Halen record, not from like a basically DIY emo band. So you can already I mean, to me, like, you can already see that they already feel like a big arena band, even when they're playing basements in New Jersey. And and they weren't ever scared of being a big band, I think, it's how you get songs with as much personality as they have.
Definitely. Yeah. And yeah, I meant to bring up the taking away Gerard's Vicodin as he was recovering from that. I think it was like a root canal to remove an abscess from his tooth or something like that. But like, their then manager, who we should mention, Sarah Lewitton, I think is her last name. Yeah. Is a really like huge part of this band's early career. Like has these like wild connections that she's able to establish, like really like grinds for this band super hard. And like she comes into like the studio and they're like in this situation where Gerard is just like in this abject pain and like can't really do anything. So like she like has him taken to the hospital and they're like, they need to make this record. Like, we need to get this fixed now, even though he'd been told multiple times that there was like nothing wrong with him at that point. Which I like, it's super, it really speaks volumes to like how much people believed in this band early on, like even beyond Jeff, who like obviously has an eye for talent, but like it extends, just beyond the people who are immediately in bands in the scene. Like it extends to the people managing the bands, the people's the moms of the people managing the bands, because I guess her mom just like immediately fell in love with Gerard too.
Yeah. So I have a question.
Yeah.
So just getting into like the demos that they recorded that everybody in like the Jersey scene hears and totally falls for. Do you think if you had heard those demos at the time, you would have like seen it, like the thing that everyone else sees in them?
I'm not sure. It's really,
I'm the same way.
What I hear is I feel like I'm retconning this in my mind because I heard these after I heard, the the actual studio versions, much like
Right.
everybody who doesn't live in New Jersey heard, or anybody who didn't find that on their website early on, because those demos were just sitting on there for a really long time, which wish I'd grabbed them back in the day. I don't think I knew they existed. I remember hearing stories about how they recorded these in the house. Like Gerard did vocals in the bathroom of the house because it had the best acoustics. But hence the attic demos, or as it's alternately known, Dreams of Stabbing and or Being Stabbed, which is the edgiest title to ever edge, but I kind of love it. But yeah, I think I hear potential, but I think if you'd handed these to me at the time, I would have enjoyed them, but I don't think I would have. I don't know that I would have been able to see what needed to happen to make these songs into what they become on Bullets.
Yeah, and I'm sure some of that is that you've heard worse versions of My Chemical Romance for 20 years now. And so hearing a worse version of My Chemical Romance now doesn't seem that interesting, but at the time there was no version of My Chemical Romance. And so I think you can hear kind of the attitude and the swagger, but they're not you can tell they don't really know what they're doing as a band or recording these songs. And they're very they're playing way too fast, and they're sloppy and scrappy and not in a good way. I always try to think about that when I listen to a band I listen to their early demos. I'm like, would I hear the thing? Because there's plenty of bands where I've heard an early demo and been like, I think that's gonna hit. I love this band, and none of them ever do. So I just my taste is just off or whatever. But a lot of people who heard this were totally right about it.
Yeah, clearly. I do wonder if part of that is they obviously played a few shows before they headed into the studio. I wonder if the early live show was maybe part of that. Because I know that's done it for me before.
Yeah, I mean, Frank Iero talks about seeing some of those early shows, and then he just started going to every My Chemical Romance show before he was in the band, because they were kind of like a Story So Far, I guess, where they, three of the guys just kind of stared at their hands and played, and then Gerard just owned the room, just transformed from this, they call him a hermit. They kind of, and yet on stage he's just totally in control and a natural performer.
Yeah. This is a thing that a lot of people, I think, have, people who are in music specifically, but maybe the performing arts in general, is you sometimes become a different person on stage, and that's very clearly a thing with Gerard.
Yeah, I mean, and that gets then built into the lore of the band, where they release albums as alter egos or whatever. That becomes their thing.
Yeah. Just as a quick side note, did you ever listen to Frank's band before he joined MCR that kind of broke up and led to him being in the band?
Pensy Prep.
Yeah.
I listened to them for the first time this week, and I mean, it was cool. It felt like, obviously there's some of the DNA of the Jersey scene, so they just kind of sound like early My Chemical Romance, but also it sounds, they have some Get Up Kids keyboard in there, which I think is fun. I listened to a couple songs and I liked it, but I have not gone through the whole album.
Yeah.
Do you like them?
I need to revisit. I remember listening to them back in the day and liking them, but it didn't stick with me the way that this does, obviously. Otherwise we'd be talking about them.
Right. But yeah, I guess the only other thing that they put out before the album is this sort of demo, not even demo, but this little EP called Phantoms Forever, which has a couple of the songs from the album, and then a live recording of a cover of Morrissey's Jack the Ripper, which I guess they played at a lot of their early shows. I don't know what to say about that song besides fuck Morrissey, but I guess it's cool that they recorded it.
Yeah, fuck Morrissey. Unfortunately, he's a very good songwriter. And yeah, I think in 2002 we didn't quite know what we know now.
Oh no, so there's no shade at My Chemical Romance for covering the song. I mean, fuck Morrissey. Now. Oh yeah, no, for the last 10 years or however long he's been a total ass.
We really need to be very clear how much we don't like Morrissey in this house, even though he is an incredible singer and a good lyricist. Usually. These days, not so much. But we do not condone Morrissey in this house. Johnny Marr forever. Presumably.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do actually, I like that cover a lot. It is a they feel like they really make it their own. Like if you hadn't told me that was a Morrissey song, I'd kind of maybe believe that it was just an MCR song that never made the cut for an album.
Yeah, I think so. Good cover choice on their part.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, I mean, we should get into the actual album itself.
Yeah.
I think we kind of covered all the overall stuff, but yeah. So this album starts off with Romance, which is just a little acoustic intro. A traditional classical guitar song called Romanza, or Spanish Romance, which also is in Dawn of the Dead, which I'm sure those two things together, the title and that it's in that movie, are why it starts off this album.
Yep.
Not a ton to say about this one other than that it is just a nice little intro.
It is a really nice little intro. I remember being very surprised that was what opened the album the first time I listened to it.
It works.
Yeah, no, yeah. I love it. I wouldn't skip it for anything.
Yeah, and then you get to Honey, This Mirror Isn't Big Enough for the Two of Us, which is just like a kind of iconic, energetic start to this album. I love that guitar riff, and it just throws you right in immediately to what this band is.
Yeah, it really does. Like that big, chunky riff right out the gate is just like, it gets you amped right out the gate. And then, you know, the first couple lines, the amount of pills I'm taking counteract the booze I'm drinking. Like, yeah, we're here, baby. We made it.
Yeah, and you can hear in Gerard's performance of those first few lines that like whatever the secret thing it is that makes a great vocalist of a band, he's got it. And but it also, the song, like, I feel like it throws you off at the beginning because it's like kind of plops you right in the middle of like, is this a metal band? Is this a punk band? Like what it threads that needle so perfectly, and you probably, I mean, they were like unclassifiable at the time. They talk about not fitting in with anyone, not sounding like any of the bands they toured with, but everybody kind of liked them and also hated them because of that. And it's all in the first like 30 seconds of this song.
It really is. And I think kind of just touching back on the demos thing, like I think that is a thing that's a little apparent in the demos, is that like this is a band that has this like kind of stunning array of influences that wants to include all of those influences in as many places as possible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've got a metalhead guitarist, and you've got the Way brothers who like the Britpop stuff, and you've got they're in Jersey, so they're just absorbing Lifetime and Saves the Day and stuff. So yeah, they're a great fusion of all of those influences.
Definitely, yeah.
I love this song. Just it jumps between styles so well. The little clean pre-chorus thing is awesome. There's great like layers of screamed vocals over it. Just I don't know. It's a very good intro to the album.
It really is. Something that I've always loved about this song, aside from all of it, is the really cool lead line that comes in that second verse. I'm not gonna try to like sing it or anything, but like the just kind of like, it's like an augmented version of the opening riff that's like a little higher up and like a little more like, oh yeah, this is what Ray Toro is all about.
Did you watch the music video for this?
I did. This is the one that's a send up of that one Japanese horror film.
Audition is the name of the movie that they're riffing on.
Yeah.
It's cool. I don't remember ever seeing this video before.
Neither do I.
But I mean, you know, recreating a horror movie is just totally their vibe.
Very on brand for them, yeah.
Yeah, it's a jam. It makes sense that this was sort of a lot of people's big, what pulled them into the band.
Definitely, yeah. Like I think the thing that's always stood out the most to me on this is just the sheer number of like really like stellar vocal affectations that that Gerard throws on through the course of the song. Like the very ending of the song, the last "Let Me In," is just like so striking.
But yeah, next up is Vampires Will Never Hurt You. This is where they really embrace the kind of heightened horror movie genre storytelling that they'll go back to throughout their career, and that I think Gerard is interested in as a writer of comic books and a sort of horror movie aficionado. This is literally a song about someone who doesn't want to become a vampire and is this sort of like pact with his lover or person that he's with that like if I get bitten or whatever, like you gotta spike my heart and kill me because I don't want to be a vampire, which I guess in this case is just a soulless corporate office drone, what it's standing in for.
Yeah, for sure. The classic like I mean there's another song on here that's like directly just like about Dawn of the Dead, but the classic like zombie narrative of like when you have to make that choice fused into a song about being a vampire or not wanting to be a vampire rather. This song is a trip, man. Like it goes so many places over its course. But I mean, obviously I love it. I got to say that up front though.
It's kind of, it's a long song. It has a lot of parts. But just because I spent a lot of time last week talking about long Killing Tree songs, this one keeps my attention more, I think. Part of it, I think, is that chorus, like the really chuggy, heavy guitar riff that then it feels like Gerard is like punching his way through with his voice, with a pretty catchy chorus melody. That is, I think it's really good songwriting. It's impressive that this was basically their first song.
Yeah.
I guess first song they recorded, the first song they wrote was Skylines and Turnstiles.
Yeah. I think the big kind of operative difference between the songwriting style that goes into like the kind of longer songs here, like this and Demolition Lovers, is that like these songs kind of they don't feel through composed, but they feel like they have movements in a way, if that makes any sense. Like that we are progressing like through different things as opposed to like kind of pulling back to or repeating things, not ad nauseum. Like I don't want to sound like I'm shitting on an album that I said I loved last week because I still love it. But yeah, I think that's kind of the big operative difference here. And I think that is kind of a result of this might be a result of this kind of being their first effort, or an early effort for them. Like they're kind of still figuring out how to write a song, and in the process of doing that have kind of stumbled on this kind of great way of writing a 5-minute long song.
Yeah, well, it's that they don't try to force the narrative into a song. It's the other way around. Like the song serves the vampire story. And I think, you got to find a balance of those. Like if every song on the album was like this, I think it would struggle.
Totally.
But to have one or two that sort of fit the way that build in this way, or that that feel like narrative first, I think it works really well.
Definitely. I think trying to think of like what my favorite part of this song is.
Is it the backmasking whispers?
The backmasking whispers are really cool. Obviously, that really set me up to love Twin Peaks later in life. But I honestly think like the breakdown might be the highlight for me. The part that starts out with the struck down before our prime, just like the descending riff that goes into that, and just the way that Gerard just like barrels into all of that, and like then the escalation that comes out of that, like it just rules. It absolutely rules.
Yeah, and I guess we should also say the music video for this is sort of where they first embrace the makeup and the like gothy punk look.
Yeah,
it's pretty much just a performance video, but it has a very, very good vibe that matches the song. It's
very it's very much a like kind of a tone piece that just accompanies the song rather than like trying to like do a narrative, which I think would have been an insane thing to try to do for this song.
Yeah, well, it would cost so much money to actually do it justice. So
exactly,
it makes sense that's a performance thing. But in other people around the band and interviews and stuff like that, and Sell Out, and in Where Are Your Boys Tonight by Chris Payne, another very good book about the scene from this time, just talk about how like their like fearlessness about like, yeah, we're gonna wear makeup, yeah, we're gonna wear eyeliner, yeah, we're gonna like dress up for our shows, we're gonna have outfits and stuff like that, was like nobody was doing that in the punk scene at the time, and it gave them, it made them unique, and then other bands started copying them. But it also, they talk a lot about, and I'm sure we'll get into more of this later, that it made like women feel more comfortable around them and more a part of the scene than just like a bunch of macho dudes.
Yeah, and that, like, I'm going to be real, like, a large part of what drew me to them in the first place was just that image being put forward. When I was in high school, like, this is, I looked at this and I was like, this is what's cool. Like, this is what, like, not even that it's cool. Like, this is people embracing themselves. And like, that was like truly beautiful and like kind of like revelatory for me. A person who was very afraid to present myself like this in high school, at risk of being called the things that Gerard was called on stage, because I was in high school and I was scared of people not liking me. But
it's funny that like that was because like by the time I'm in high school and I'm like, this stuff is so mainstream already that like to me it didn't feel like there was as much of a stigma around it, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, by the time I'm in high school, like My Chemical Romance has humongous hits and Fall Out Boy has huge hits. Like, these are the biggest bands in the world and they wear eyeliner. And it's like, okay, I mean, sure, people make fun of them, but like the numbers were there. There were enough people who were right, yeah, who were fans and like around that I was around all the time that like I said, it wasn't stigmatized and it didn't feel like they were countercultural in a way, which is like the weird sort of paradox of bands like this getting big.
Yeah.
But we'll get more into that on the next week's episode, certainly. Next up is Drowning Lessons. This is like probably the most sort of pop punk song on the album. It's the one that really just sounds like Lifetime and Saves the Day, so I'm very into it. It's got a lot of guitar leads that just feel like classic kind of emo pop punk things. What do you think of this one?
I really like this one. The like kind of octave riff that starts it off. Like, that's, I love bands like Lifetime and like, more, on the other end of things, the like kind of octave score screamo bands that octave core screamo bands, I think is what people refer to them as. So like that does a lot for me. I really love the like kind of sudden turn that this song takes when they get to the line, "These hands stained red." Like, it's really kind of jarring, but also incredibly smooth. Like, I can't find the seam in it, which is kind of wild. The only thing that like I often forget about in this song is that weird like kind of fade out ending that happens where they just have this like instrumental outro that almost sounds tacked on to the end. Like, it's cool and it kind of lulls you into a weird false sense of security before Our Lady of Sorrows hits. But I love this song overall. Like, that's my literal only gripe with it.
Yeah, I just cut the weird outro. I'm not sure why it's there. It throws me off every time. The thing we should talk about with the song is this is, I guess, the first hint of the actual, I guess, lore or plot around this album, as so far as people can have sussed it out. That this is the sort of a continuation of Demolition Lovers, the closing track on the album, which if I'm going to try to sum this up briefly, because it also continues on to Three Cheers. But the sort of background lore of the album is that there's a couple and one of them dies and the man makes a deal with the devil to be with his lover forever. But in order to do so, he needs to bring the devil the souls of 1,000 evil men. Which is basically what the bridge of the song is about, and then it's a little more explicit in Bullets, and then I guess Three Cheers is where that is mostly about that. And the Demolition Lovers are the couple on the cover of Three Cheers. I don't know that I would have ever picked up on any of this stuff if I hadn't just like read about it. The songs work no matter what, but I guess it's cool that it's there.
Yeah, I mean, this is a thing we'll talk about, maybe not more extensively, but I just want to mention it here. Like, in addition to, we'll talk about it on the Three Cheers episode. I never ever grokked the story of Three Cheers beyond reading about it and going, oh yeah, I guess that's there on some of the songs. So like, yeah,
same.
Had I not read about it, I wouldn't know that there were ties back to this album either. But like, it does make sense. But like, even Three Cheers is like only partly about that story. But having that like kind of cool through line between, a smattering of songs throughout their early career is really cool. But yeah, that's definitely worth bringing up, and we'll talk about it a little more on Demolition Lovers itself.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's Gerard is using this. He's doing the thing that basically any horror movie or whatever genre story does, is using this sort of heightened imagery to work through the pain of a breakup and his ways of dealing with that, whether that's through drugs or alcohol or whatever it is. Like that's that kind of like desperation of how you get through the pain is basically what this album is about. And sometimes it manifests itself literally like on Honey This Mirror, and sometimes it's more in the fantastical, like it is on this song, and on Our Lady of Sorrows.
Yeah, and I think kind of an overall thing that makes me think about is just kind of the there's always truth in fiction, and I feel like that's really apparent with this band, because like throughout the course of their career, we're gonna talk about even like grander, like more cohesive narratives, but like all of these lyrics like kind of end up tying back to this like core like set of things that we experience in everyday life, and like the way that those things make us feel and how we deal with it. And like I think the tightrope that gets walked there by Gerard specifically as a lyricist, but just kind of the band as a whole, like is really what endears me to this band in general. Like I almost don't care about the story, because I feel like these songs have a hold on my soul despite like any fiction that's like kind of underlying the actual propulsion of the lyrics.
Yeah, well, and like you said, this is the one where it depends on the story the least. Like, and it's also the loosest conceptually. There's fewer songs that relate to the story. There's a lot more that are more like kind of personal, emotional songs, or songs about this, the idea of not being subsumed into corporate life or whatever. But Our Lady of Sorrows is, I think, closer to the fantastical side of things, because this song just feels like an epic drama to me.
It really does.
Like just the idea. I mean, the chorus of like with this very like hardcore punk sounding riff, like more heavier than I usually associate with them. This stand up fucking tall, don't let them see your back, like that. It has this like I don't know. I can see the way that the scene would be lit and shot in the movie that's based on this song when I listen to it.
Yeah, it's very theatrical, and it's funny that it like feels so epic, because it's like one of the shortest songs on the album.
Yeah.
I do, kind of with that as the backdrop, I often think about how this song was originally called Bring More Knives, and I can't tell if that's more or less fitting than Our Lady of Sorrows. I like that they landed on what they landed on, though, I think, in the end.
Yeah, I agree. This song has my favorite lyric on the album, which I think also Gerard has said is his favorite lyric he's ever written, which is how wrong we were to think that immortality meant never dying. Just a good turn of phrase. Yeah.
That's incredible. I do love referring to the patron saint of switchblade fights. That feels like such an interesting image to me.
I mean, I don't know where this was in the chronology of. I mean, I guess it was very early on if it's one of the early demos, but it feels like between Skylines, if they, if it was Skylines and Turnstiles and then this, like it feels like already like a big jump up in as a lyricist, just from one song to the next.
Definitely, yeah, and like it. From a vocal perspective, I feel like Gerard squeezes so much into this song. And like, and again, that's very impressive given that it's like 2.5-ish minutes compared to some of the like more standard length songs on this one. But yeah, it's a really impressive song in a very small package, that I keep coming back to. Like if I'm only going to listen to one song on this album, like in a hypothetical situation where I only have time for one, it's either this or Demolition Lovers, I think.
I mean, I might go for Headfirst for Halos.
Headfirst for Halos is actually also incredibly good, and we should talk about it now.
It's great. I mean, it's like, this is where you can hear well, okay. When Black Parade comes out, the big story is like, oh, this band sounds like Queen, or they're hugely influenced by Queen. But like the first, 16 bars of this song are straight up stadium rock. Like there's the lead guitar, the big drum fills that are over it. It's like all of that, British stadium rock, Queen, whatever. It's all already in the band here. I had kind of forgotten what this song sounded like, and I was so delighted to hear that on this part of it.
It's truly such a bold move to one, not have any vocals hit until almost a minute and a half in, but to have the guitar solo be one of the first things that you hear in the song on an album like this is like just such a bold move, and such a like it pays off. It pays off immediately, because then you go through that and you're like, all right, this is pretty cool. And then you get the 16th note drum fill and the like big yeah that actually launches into the song proper. And it's you could almost end the song there and it would be great. But then we get this incredibly upbeat song about suicide after that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's a great contrast of what the song is about and what the song sounds like in classic, sort of emo pop punk fashion.
Right.
It's a real dark song, obviously. It's a song about suicide, a song about using drugs to cope with depression. It's kind of a rough one. And I think they use the repetition really well to like sort of represent the cyclical, downward cycle nature of it.
The hand claps before the think happy parts or think happy thoughts part is just like it's bonkers that we make it to that point in the song, and then we're getting that. But like, yeah, to your point, like this kind of weirdly optimistic outlook on like the transformative power of an act like that is already kind of setting you up to kind of be in this very contrasting mood for this incredibly dark song that ends with a woo at the end.
Yeah, I mean, it ends up being like, I think, a kind of a live staple for them.
Yeah,
I think it's a pretty well loved song from as far as this album goes.
Yeah, kind of wild that it was never a single, but Eyeball probably didn't have money to produce more singles from this album.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a strange single, I think, for a number of reasons.
Sure,
not the least of which is the intro that sounds nothing like anyone else in their scene and really doesn't sound like their image.
Right.
But I mean, I love it as an album track.
Definitely.
After that is Skylines and Turnstiles, which is, by all accounts, the very first song that they wrote. I love when the band's first song that they wrote ends up on an album. It makes me real jealous to start off good enough, with a song that's that good. And it's also is kind of the origin story of the band. It's a song about witnessing 9/11 and how you respond to that, and how it kind of like, gives Gerard this sort of crisis about what he's doing with his life, and because a lot of this is the idea that the city is, New York as like a, the corporate office hellscape that it is, and that it's in trying to find a way out of that through art.
I feel like it's hard to convey the feelings that you would have about being an eyewitness to an event like that. Like, I mean, I of course remember where I was when I found out about 9/11, but I was also at my middle school in Crystal Lake, Illinois, like hearing it through the radio and seeing it on TV. Like I didn't look up from my commute and like actually see it. But I feel like the lyrics in the song are like kind of straight up, like I would describe them as poetic in a lot of ways. Maybe masked a little bit by the vocal delivery, but like, the broken city sky, like butane on my skin, is like such a visceral way of putting it. But like, I feel like I know exactly what that means.
Yeah, it is being ignited by the thing that you've that you've seen into trying to reset your life in a way.
Yeah.
But then there's this element in the bridge of like, after seeing what we saw, can we still reclaim our innocence, of like feeling like you grew up too fast? I mean, that's the War All the Time idea too, that that for an entire generation it was a moment of like you know there's never we don't see the world the same way we did that we saw it before.
Yeah, in retrospect, this song feels so inextricably tied to that song and that album as a whole.
Yeah, and Gerard has mentioned like he just wanted to move on from the song, didn't really like playing it live.
Yeah, I get that. Like I understand like it fits the album. It's an incredible song, honestly, but like I also understand like we talked about this with Thursday a lot. Like how do you deal with relitigating some of the worst things you've ever experienced? And like it seems like in Gerard's case, it's like, well, we just don't do that anymore. Actually,
right? Or I mean, or you couch it in enough acting basically that you can distance yourself from it if that works. That doesn't always work for everyone.
Yeah. And given how explicitly this song is about 9/11, like I understand why that maybe is less of an option.
Yeah. After that is Early Sunsets Over Monroeville. This is and has always been my favorite song on this album. It's got just classic Midwest emo sounding guitars, just hanging out in 6/8 time. It's been called a sweet song about Dawn of the Dead.
Yep.
It's exactly what it is. I'm like mesmerized by the song every time I listen to it.
It's really honestly incredible. Like, obviously like it is much like Candy to me in that it is an homage to 90s emo, but like I obviously like got the vibe that it was like, horror movie adjacent, but I didn't know that it was strictly about Dawn of the Dead until a while after I initially heard it, because I had not seen Dawn of the Dead until I was an adult, I think. But like I feel like lyrically this really like kind of captures the essence of like zombie films and horror films in general, because like horror films are never about the monster. They're always about like the ways in which why have we manifested this monster in the first place from our collective subconscious, and like what does the story being told about how we're dealing with said monsters like say about us as people. And like zombies are the classic like, when is a person not a person anymore type thing. Like what is the line between a man and a monster, if you will,
but also the line between like alive and dead.
Yeah.
Or spiritually alive and dead, which is I think what the back half of the song is getting at.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like I given that it is a song about Dawn of the Dead, I feel like it really it meets that assignment so well. And in the form of a 90s emo song, which is just the icing on the cake.
Yeah, I just the way that the song ends with the music fading out and you just hear the vocal left, like, does anyone notice there's a corpse in this bed? That was like, again, I'm what, 13 when I'm hearing this, and I'm just like, I was like, the song scared me in the sense that I was like, what is this about? Is this like real? Is not like that I thought it was like literal, but like, the emotion that Gerard gets across in the performance of the end of the song in particular was like nothing I had ever heard before.
Yeah. Oh, it's pained, like just absolutely abjectly pained. Like that it's such a like fantastical line in many ways, but it's delivered with such passion that I'm like, oh God.
Yeah. I like, there's in one of the interviews with Jeff Rickley, he talks about sort of trying to coach Gerard through singing this song. And like one of the things he talks about, which is like an interesting, I mean, again, Jeff Rickley says that he didn't know how to produce a record, but this is actually great. Like advice. I mean, I guess he knows how to sing on a record and whatever, but like he was talking about how he told Gerard to like, don't worry about following the band, make the band follow you, which is this kind of paradoxical thing when you're singing to something that's already been recorded. But it comes through a lot on this album. I think not just on this song, where it feels like he is, as a frontman, is like pulling the band in directions that they aren't quite prepared to go. And which again is like, doesn't make any sense literally because he's recording later, but I don't know. when I read that interview, I was like, oh yeah, that's exactly what is happening on this album.
Yeah, it really does. Like it feels like it would be a very tough thing to pull off, given the way that recording generally works. But like I feel like being given that direction like is both incredibly vague and incredibly specific, and like it results in something like this. And I, man, yeah, Jeff, come on. You knew exactly what you were doing, kind of.
Yeah. After that is This Is the Best Day Ever. This is the one song on this album that I think just kind of doesn't work for me. It never quite hooks me. But do you like this one more, and can you sell me on it?
I like it more than you do. I don't think I'm going to be able to sell you on it. Like I kind of like the subtle vibe shifts that this song undergoes. Like it starts off as a straight up Circle Pit song. And we get backing vocals from Jeff on this song, which is pretty cool to me. But like when we hit that every hour on the hour, like the riff that occurs right before that, like really like kind of subtly moves the song in a different direction. Like I never feel like this song like undergoes the movement changes that like say a Vampires or an Our Lady of Sorrows or a Demolition Lovers undergoes. But like I feel like it does a more subtle version of that over its course. And like it's kind of like this is again like a 2-ish minute long song. And I feel like it manages to cram a lot in. I don't know that it's like executed as well as it is on some of the other songs here. And it's, I would definitely argue it's not as good of a song as Our Lady of Sorrows. But like, I think it mostly works. I do love like ending on the runaway, like, and then just cutting to black after that, if you will. But yeah, I don't know. Like it's less of a standout for me than a lot of the other songs on this album, which almost defeats the purpose of calling things standouts. But yeah, I see where you're coming from though, and kind of in general.
Yeah, it feels like the one that needed to be on the album just to get it to 11 songs.
Sure.
I do think it's a pretty decent showcase of Matt Pelletier as a drummer. If there's any song on this album where you can say that about it, I'd say it's this one.
Yeah, I'd say that's true.
Yeah, but we can just move on. After that is Cubicles. This is kind of the most, along with Skylines and Turnstiles, the most obvious, like, corporate life is repetitive, monotonous hell song on this album. What do you think of this one?
I like this one a lot. I've had coworker crushes before. I worked in corporate America before I was in a long-term relationship. Like I get it. But yeah, I don't know. This one's always struck me as like a kind of weird standout on the album because it feels the most firmly rooted in reality of any song. Obviously like Skylines and Turnstiles aside, like it feels almost mundane in its subject matter compared to everything else, but I think it still really works.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can think of it almost as as a prequel to Skylines and Turnstiles. Like this is the kind of the longer setup of the emotional state you're in before you have the sort of galvanizing origin story moment that happens in Skylines and Turnstiles.
Yeah, definitely. Like, yeah, I think if you listen to those songs back to back, like in that order, like that story would become incredibly clear. But yeah, I like it as a kind of setup for that, kind of putting yourself in the headspace of like this is what I'm going through every day. Like the most exciting thing about my day is writing these love notes that I will never send to this person who now no longer works with me.
You know what my favorite coworker crush song is?
I would love to know.
This is a weird thing that I was just thinking about. There is a John K. Samson song called, is it called The Last And? That is about, I'm not going to remember their names. The principal and one of the teachers in The Simpsons, that have this weird little affair.
Oh, Skinner and Crabapple?
Crabapple? Yeah, yes. And when I think of like anytime I think about like coworker crush narratives, that's the one that comes to my mind. I love that song.
That's very funny. I haven't listened to this song in a very long time, but that kind of rules, honestly.
So good. But the back to the cubicles, the one thing I want to call out that I do like a lot about this song is in the middle of each verse, there's the lines like in the first one, I'd photocopy all the things that we could be. It just is one of those moments where he just squeezes more words than should be possible into a line. And it ends up being really catchy in a way.
Yeah, this is a thing that we've touched on, with many bands before at this point, but like it's always good when it's executed well, and it really is here.
After that, we get to the closing track, Demolition Lovers, which is kind of the plottiest song on the album if you're talking about the lore.
Right.
And this is, I guess the plot wise is like the death of the lover, and the man like sort of is ready to make his deal with the devil. This song, I mean, musically is just a long, slow build. It's, akin to Early Sunsets over Monroeville, but then builds into a much, much bigger, louder, faster song at the chorus.
Yeah, I mean, this song has full on 3 seconds of silence in the middle of it, which I like. I don't really remember hearing this song for the first time, but I can say that like I'm still kind of struck by it every time it happens. Like when you get to about, I think it's like 2 minutes and 50 seconds or so. And then it goes into kind of this, I will call it the second movement of the song. But yeah, like I absolutely love this song. Like 6-minute songs can be a tough hang, but like I feel like this one really kind of delivers on the promise that the whole album has set up here.
It breezes by. It does not feel like it's 6 minutes long.
Oh, it really does. Like that, even like I think we talked about this a lot with Paramore, and specifically Paramore intros, and that's not the case here because we've got mostly that extended instrumental like 2/3 of the way through the song. Like, yeah, it feels like it breezes by, and then we get to that part where we're like kind of just like slowly like snowballing towards the end, basically.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's, I guess, not quite through composed like you were saying, but kinda. It's 3 pretty distinct movements.
Yeah,
incredible guitar solo.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah, that guitar solo rips so hard.
I don't have a ton to like say about the song. I just I think it is a great cap to the album. It already feels like they're exploring new directions they could go. I would guess this is the last song they wrote for the album. If I don't know if they've confirmed that one way or the other, but when they're such a young band, I feel like you can hear the growth from Vampires and Skylines that kind of culminates in this song.
Yeah, like this feels like in many ways the like kind of magnum opus of the album. Like it obviously, there's no other place to put this song on the record, but like just just in terms of like sheer length and where it starts and where it ends. But yeah, it really feels like it is maybe not a thesis of the album, but like, yeah, there's just like the natural conclusion of everything that's come before it. And then like kind of leading into what they do after this.
Yeah, I mean, you can, if you want to dig a thesis out of this album, I think that All We Are Is Bullets is like is a good place to start, because it's this idea that we like all people are just destined to hurt each other. And the album it's kind of about that. And I guess then the story is about this idea of like, well, what if we could be, what if our devotion to each other, our love for each other could overcome that, like the inevitability of pain and death. I think that's kind of the through line of a lot of the songs.
Yeah, definitely. And that really kind of naturally slides into the next album, which deals with the highly stylized version of how you do that.
Yep. So yeah, I mean that's the album. It's a good one. This is far from my favorite My Chemical Romance album, as we'll soon see. But it's a pretty impressive debut, especially for being recorded very quickly and very shortly after the band formed.
Yeah, like the thing that struck me, like I kind of knew this in the back of my mind, but like reading through the timeline of events in Sellout, and kind of like seeing it all in one place instead of smattered over the course of like reading articles on the internet, everything happened so fast. It's wild.
Yeah, I mean, it happened sort of, I mean, too fast for them, really.
Yeah.
Based on everything, that happened behind the scenes, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, for sure. When we get to the ranking of albums, this is going to be low for me, but it's going to sting to have it be low for me.
I know. I mean, they've never made anything that like less than a 7 out of 10, probably.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like this is an easy 8, maybe a little more for me personally.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to recommendations when we get, or we'll get to rankings when we get there. But now we will do recommendations.
Yes, we will.
What do you got for this week?
So once again, I have been swayed by the magic of going to a movie theater and seeing a film that I should have seen 5 years ago. My recommendation this week is Portrait of a Lady on Fire, which is a wonderful French film about a woman who is tasked with going to this kind of remote estate to paint the portrait of a woman who is to be wed to a man in Milan. And a painter had been by before. Heloise, the one of the main characters, refused to show her face to him. And this woman, who is the daughter of a well-known painter, at the time in the fiction, is kind of brought in under the guise of being a walking companion for this woman. And it turns into this really, really beautiful love story between the two, Marianne and Heloise, and kind of the it's a story about queer love in the 1700s. It doesn't end with them staying together. Spoiler alert, I guess, for this 2019 film. But yeah, it's wonderfully shot. The love story really gets to me. Honestly, like even independent of that, like it still would have been a great slice of life film if you'd just like excised that element. But like the love story puts it over the top into, I would say, basically being a perfect film. The one other thing I really want to quickly touch on is there's almost no music in the movie, but music is like incredibly central to it. It is talked about a lot, and there are 3 diegetic moments. One on a harpsichord. One is an a cappella song sang around a bonfire, and then late in the movie there is an orchestral rendition of a Vivaldi piece, and all of those moments are just like so affecting. And yeah, I everyone I know saw this movie when it came out, and I somehow like kind of kept myself in the dark about it for all these years. Been meaning to watch it for a while, and it was on at the music box as part of Sappapalooza, a really wonderful film series. That's bound as part of that series, so that's I'm going to be seeing that next weekend. But yeah, Portrait of a Lady on Fire, incredible film. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. If you can see it in a theater, go see it in a theater.
It's very good. One of the most like insane Oscar snubs ever was France not choosing that as their submission for Best International Feature that year.
Insane. What did they pick over it?
An adaptation of Les Mis, I believe, or a movie that's called Les Miserables, but I don't know if it's actually an adaptation of... Nope, it's not. It's just another movie called Les Mis. I don't know. I've never heard of this movie. And, I mean, I don't know that Portrait of a Lady on Fire would have won the Oscar that year, because that's the Parasite year.
It would have deserved it, though.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, Parasite's amazing, too.
Oh, I fucking love Parasite, but I don't know that I love Parasite as much as I love this movie.
Yeah. Still, great. Yeah, great movie.
For sure.
My recommendation is going to be, probably unsurprisingly, the new Arm's Length album, There's a Whole World Out There. Just one of the best up-and-coming, I don't know, emo rock bands out there right now. Hints of The Wonder Years, The Hotel Year, and Jimmy Eat World. And basically, if you scrolled through my iPod at any point in the last 20 years, you'll find most of the influences of Arm's Length there. And now you'll find a couple of great Arm's Length albums. We saw this band live last year.
We did.
Last year? Was it? Yeah, it was last year.
It was last
they were
year.
Awesome. I'm hoping I will be able to see them again soon on this record because it is just a great sort of continuation and amplification of everything that they do well.
They're at the Bottom Lounge next month. I bought a ticket. To be clear, I live much closer to the Bottom Lounge than Troy does, so it's a little easy for me to just say, yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like I actually, I heard this album last Friday, and then went to see Portrait of a Lady on Fire on Saturday. And the second this album ended, I was like, Troy and I are both going to have this as our recommendation next week. It's so good. Both the full lengths that they have thus far are honestly incredible. And this really feels like they've kind of punched up what they were already doing, non-insignificantly, I would argue. But yeah, it's incredible. I think this album's going to grow on me a lot as the year goes on, and it's already probably top 10 material, if not top 5 for me.
Yeah, for sure. All right. We will be back next week talking about 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge. In the meantime, find us on the internet at noisefloorpodcast.com. Follow us on Instagram at noisefloorpod. And I don't know, send us your reactions. Tell us what you love about this album.
Yeah, please tell us that you love this album as much as we do, because otherwise you're wrong. That's not true. That's not true. I'm sorry. I keep doing this to people. I love this band so much. It's a problem.